This is For My Sons, a space where we equip men to lead themselves, their families, and their communities with strength and wisdom. I'm your host, Papa O, a father, a husband, a son, and a student of life. Here, we dive into all the topics that shape the development of men. Lessons, stories, and principles you can use to strengthen your family and impact your community. If you're passionate about becoming a better man, building a better family, and leaving a better world, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's conversation. Last week, we explored the sacred nature of hard work, the truth that nothing lasting comes easy. And if you didn't check out the episode, I would absolutely recommend you go and check it out. This week, we move from effort to integrity, where today's topic of conversation is on the importance of honesty, the invisible foundation that keeps our effort meaningful. And this week's Yoruba proverb is as such: Tí ọkọ bá gba ọ̀nà olódodo lọ níwájú, ìwọ yọ padà kọjá níbẹ̀ lẹ́yìn. Which translates as, if you don't go through the honest man's track on your way forward, you will pass through his path on your way back. And what that basically means is that you can't permanently escape honesty. If you want to try and advance in life by cutting corners, lying, or being dishonest, eventually life will bring you back full circle and you'll be forced to confront the very path you avoided. Now, before I go on, obviously, the Yoruba is still coming in terms of reading, but it's getting better. It's something that, I'm teaching my sons at the moment, Yoruba. Well, I have been for the last couple of years anyway. But I've taught myself how to read Yoruba as well. So if I've butchered the proverb, apologies. I'll put it in the show notes as always. And yeah, it'll be something that hopefully you'll see an improvement on as the episodes go along. So what is honesty? Well, Merriam-Webster defines honesty in two parts. The first part, adherence to facts. And the second part, as fairness and straightforwardness of conduct. Honesty is foundational to trust, honor, and influence. So why do we struggle with honesty? Well, sometimes we lie to avoid short-term discomfort. And, one such example is, I've got a little story where, if you didn't know, Nigerians love their malt drinks. In particular, there's a brand by the name of Supermalt, which is highly sought after as far as a drink goes. So this drink is in the fridge, and as a child, you'll drink anything that's not water. So, no problem. Drink the drink. You are loving life. Then your dad comes home. Everybody gets cold. He's gone into the fridge, seen it's not there. Everyone's been called. Who drank my Supermalt that was in the fridge? You thinking you're slick? You go, nah, Dad, not me. But in thinking you're slick, you forget that you still have the evidence of the empty Supermalt bottle behind your foot that your dad can very clearly see. Now, your dad is trying to give you an opportunity to obviously, tell the truth, be honest, correct yourself. Are you sure you don't know what happened to the Supermalt? Yeah, Dad, I don't know what happened. I don't know where it's gone. I don't know who took it. I didn't drink it. And in true Nigerian poetry, your dad goes, don't worry. No problem at all. No problem. So the drink is gone, Abi? Yeah, Dad, the drink's gone. No problem. So, congratulations. Your application for the University of Lukpa has been successful. Go and get me my belts. Oh, you know when you've messed up, right? This is for anybody. This is for anybody of any ethnicity, right? Where English isn't necessarily like the first language. You know you've messed up when the parents are switching between their native language and English in order to emphasize their point. Oh. And if you didn't know what lukba means, lukba is severe beatings. So yeah. Yeah. You think telling lies, you think being dishonest will avoid short-term pain. Right? And point number 2, larger lies seem great at the beginning until they have to become more elaborate. And the more elaborate they become, the worse the lie gets, the deeper people have to go in order to back up the lie. And 2 prime examples of that, which were all over the news at their time. Number 1 was Elizabeth Holmes at Theranos. If you don't know who she is, you don't know who that company is, look it up. And Sam Bankman-Fried at FTX. Again, if you've never heard of his name before or that company, please look them up. You'll see how horrendous long-term dishonesty can damage, and it damages lives because people obviously lost out. Like honest people that were working there didn't have a clue that any of that was going on, or any of the fraud was going on. They lost their jobs. There was a loss of livelihood, so the people that invested in those companies, they lost out on that as well. And, there was a loss of reputation as well. So people that were attached to those organizations or to those people directly, they are now looked at with extreme scrutiny if they weren't, directly involved in any of those fraudulent shenanigans in the first place. So whether the lie is small or the dishonesty is small or large, it is going to cause damage. It seems simple at first, right? Seems like dishonesty is simple at first, but I can promise you it's not easy. Short-term gain for long-term pain. Of course, with everything, there are going to be some challenges, and honesty is no different from that. So here are some of the common challenges with honesty. Number 1, we think lies will protect people, but over time they confuse and divide. Now, an example of this, and this is actually very close to my heart, because I was actually like this previously in my marriage, was I used to sugarcoat a lot. Just sugarcoating stuff to my wife, thinking that because I'm sugarcoating, I'm protecting her from my true feelings, which she might not necessarily like, or my true sentiments that she might not necessarily like. But over time, what it did was that because I sugarcoated so much, it convoluted the truth to a point that when she would make a conclusion or a deduction, it was based on something that wasn't anywhere near to the original point that I'd made in the first place. And it almost broke our marriage because there was so much confusion going on. And that's not something I want for you guys at all. So I was able to thankfully correct that. But yeah, we think lies protect people. Over time, they really don't. They confuse and divide. Number 2, being tactless is not the same as being honest. Delivery matters. Right? So, I'm sure you've come across it. You have it in a group of friends where there's always one that believes themselves to be the truth teller when really all they are is a tactless douche. Right? So let's say that you're in your group of friends and you have one of your friends who's, larger in size, a bit more rotund than the rest. Let's just go with that. And this friend has bought a new shirt and is wearing it out. It's an unflattering shirt, right? It's got thick horizontal lines going around him, right? Now, honesty, right, which does involve having tact as well. Honesty would be like, look, that shirt isn't really that flattering for you, bro. Okay, you should probably go and get that changed. Yeah? So that's honesty. Tactlessness would be, why do you look like a boxing glove that's been wrapped around a zebra crossing, brev? You're embarrassing, brev. Go get yourself checked out, brev. That is a tactless approach. You see, the two deliveries are completely different. The message might have been similar, but the lack of consideration of one's feelings. Honesty does that. Tactlessness does not. So again, I'll say it again. Being tactless is not the same as being honest. Delivery matters. And number 3, lies build up and eventually collapse, destroying trust and creating rifts. So I've obviously described that with the likes of Elizabeth Holmes and Sam Bankman-Fried, where they were just building upon, a web of lies the entire period of time that they were the, CEO of their companies. And when it falls through, it really, really falls through. Like if memory serves me well, they're definitely both serving prison time. And that's one of the that is the last place that you want to be. Simply because these are two people who most certainly did not grow up with, didn't grow up in this type of environment where they would have been exposed to, let's say, the underbelly of society like that. And that's where they are now. That's what happens when you build upon lies and you deceive everybody around you and the truth finally catches up. It's devastating what it does to your life. Why does honesty matter as a man? And I have 3 points. 3 points that I'd like to go through with you. Number 1, honesty strengthens your character. If you're a person that's used to telling the truth, you're used to being honest. When you lie, you feel off. Right? You don't necessarily feel like yourself. You feel weird. Feel a bit empty. The honesty that you're used to performing, that aligns with your beliefs and your character. That aligns with your values. Right, that's number 1. Number 2, honesty builds your reputation. Everybody knows that a dishonest person is always ops, always looked at as suspicious, can never be trusted. There's good reason for it. Right? When you are thinking of a liar, you are never thinking of someone that looks good or someone that looks upstanding. Even like the cartoons, even nowadays and of old, they're always looking like, they're always looking a bit snaky, right? A bit weaselly. Right? And there is definitely some truth to that, because that's how people see liars, especially if they're very well known within their communities. Right? When we're talking about honesty building reputation, I'm sure there are many examples in your community that you know in your lives that you know as upstanding people. But if we're talking more prominent people, you know, they're all influential as well. Think of Abraham Lincoln, Socrates, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, obviously Mahatma Gandhi, right? All of them extremely influential in the 20th century as far as their honesty went. Their honesty took them to places that they would have never gotten to if they didn't have that. And number 3, honesty solidifies your convictions. So when you're honest with yourself, it reinforces your identity. Right? Telling the truth helps with memory recall and with self-confidence. So the same way as to how you have to keep building up an elaborate web of lies and keep that going continuously in order for the lie to sustain itself, telling the truth is very simple, very down the line. Because it's the truth, you're recalling the same thing over and over again. Right? So the same thing you said 2 years ago is the same thing you're saying now about the exact same situation, simply because it was true. No query of how your story's changed, mate. No. It's exactly the same because that's what happened. Right? That's what honesty does. Honesty solidifies your convictions, because then you'll be able to say to that person, no, this is what I saw. This is what happened. Yeah? So those are the 3 points. I'll say it again as to why honesty matters as a man. Number 1, honesty strengthens your character. Number 2, honesty builds your reputation. And number 3, honesty solidifies your convictions. And so, as always, we move on to the section of the podcast where I give you some practical tips that you could use relating to the topic of conversation. And since today's topic of conversation is on the topic of honesty, I have 3 for you on honesty. Number 1, reflect on one area where you've not been fully honest with yourself or with someone else and write it down. Right? I can't explain that for you if you want, but I thought that'd be pretty straightforward for you to get. Number 2, have one uncomfortable conversation this week where you chose truth over convenience. Now, again, that could be with yourself or that could be with somebody else. Either way, it's not going to be very comfortable because, of course, there are some conversations, and it depends on the person you're talking to as well. It depends on the type of relationship you have if you decide to talk to somebody else. If it's somebody you have a really deep relationship with, remember, tact is important. Well, in all situations, tact is important. So that's number 2. Number 3, practice gentle honesty, which is tell the truth with care, not cruelty. Again, that leads more on the point that joins together on the point of making sure that you have tact in your conversations when you're speaking honestly. Okay? A lot of the time, it's not the message itself. It's not the content of the message itself that's the issue. It's the context that is added on top, wrapped around with the delivery. That's what causes people to either react positively or negatively to what you're saying. So I'll go over those 3 practical tips again. Number 1, reflect on one area where you've not been fully honest with yourself or with someone else and write it down. Number 2, have one uncomfortable conversation this week where you chose truth over convenience. And number 3, practice gentle honesty, which is to tell the truth with care and not cruelty. So when it comes to the importance of honesty, here are my closing thoughts. Honesty takes courage, but is always the better path in the end. As a man, your reputation is your shadow, and you want yours to be one that's reflecting truth. Honesty is not just about being truthful with others. It begins with being truthful with yourself, and that's where your strength is rooted. Think about your values. Are your actions in alignment with them? If not, that's where honesty begins. Quietly, internally, in that sacred space between your thoughts and your conscience. Being honest doesn't mean being harsh. It means being clear. Clarity builds trust, and trust builds relationships, both personal and professional. You don't have to reveal everything to everyone, but what you do say, let it be true. Over time, your honesty will become a mirror for others to trust themselves more deeply as well. When you choose honesty, even when it costs something, you're choosing long-term respect over short-term comfort. So today, stand tall in truth. Even when your voice shakes, even when the truth is unpopular, because the version of you who is honest is the version most worth becoming. Thank you for joining me today on For My Sons. I hope today's message challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you something worth passing down. If you found value in this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new letter, a new lesson, or a new legacy moment. Until next time, be a communication CEO. Communicate clearly, communicate early, and communicate often. This is Papa Ro, and I am